How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so a few years after the release of the Genesis, um, or Mega Drive, depending on what part of the world you live in, Sega found themselves starting to lose ground to the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, depending on what part of the world you live in. And so they needed to play catch up to their competition. There were rumors that Sega was going to abandon the Genesis altogether. There are different rumors about what Sega was going to do. And in the end, they released a CD-ROM add-on to the Genesis. Now, this wasn't altogether original or new, as NEC had done this already with the PC Engine, or TurboGrafx 16. And in other parts of the world, the TurboGrafx 16 CD-ROM add-on was successful because the publishers of game publishers, they caught on to it, they knew what to do with it, and they made really good titles for it. In the US, with Sega's add-on, not so much, because Sega kind of bungled what they were supposed to do with the Sega CD. Now, when the Sega CD released, it released with a bundle of games, with a Sega Arcade Classics disc that had Golden Axe, Columns, Revenge of Shinobi, and the first Streets of Rage title on it. I believe it released with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, some CD plus G music samplers, a bunch of different stuff to show off the different capabilities of the Sega CD. But they also, the initial crop of games released was, it was a bunch of full motion video games, interactive movies type stuff, things like that. And the problem with that was that there wasn't any really in-depth gameplay in those titles, one. And two, the full motion video was really grainy, the loading times were slow because it was a single speed CD-ROM, and it just didn't look good. Funny thing about that, though, is that the non-CD-ROM games, a lot of them released on the Sega CD, were excellent. The Sega CD gave us our first arcade perfect home port of Mortal Kombat. It gave us really good ports of Samurai Showdown and Fatal Fury Special. It gave us beautifully put together home ports of Space Ace and Dragon's Lair, along with arcade perfect ports of Lethal Enforcers and Mad Dog McCree. It gave us great audio in NBA Jam, along with bringing back those animated halftime report videos. So it gave us really good arcade ports, and it also gave us a platform that gave us the best Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made in Sonic CD. One of the better Spider-Man games that wasn't the Spider-Man 2 movie tie-in game in Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin. One of the better Batman and Robin games, because all of the games based on the Batman and Robin, the Batman animated series, all the games based on that were produced for home consoles, for the most part, were really good. Sega's were, especially the Sega CD version, it was excellent. We got, what else did we get on this? We got Wolfchild and Robo LS, Lords of Thunder, Gate of Thunder, I believe it was. Brutal Paws of Fury, Wonder Dog, which was an incredible platformer. We got a console version of Monkey Island that rivaled the PC version. And we also got one of the better games that Hideo Kojima ever put his hands on. And that was Snatcher. So, the Sega CD all bad. It's just that the way it was marketed and the stuff that the third parties did on it, well, stuff that Sega did on it too. Some of the games made for it just didn't take proper advantage of what the system could do. A lot like what happened. I mean, I'm not even gonna get into that. But the Sega CD, it came in 3 different forms. The initial version that connected to the Genesis Model 1 had a drawer. It was actually looked a little bit like the PlayStation 2 in a way, but it connected to the Genesis via the expansion port and sat under the Genesis. Model 2, the drive kind of sat beside the Genesis, and it was made more to work with the form factor of the Model 2 Genesis rather than the Model 1. And then there was the version that I currently own, the Genesis CD-X, which was a Genesis Sega CD combo system that could also be used as a portable CD player, although the battery life on this thing was terrible. So there were 3 different versions of the Sega CD, and by 1996, so 4 years after it was released, it was gone. Mainly because of the quality of the games produced for it kind of killed the desire to own one. So, be careful. It's the Sega CD is kind of a cautionary tale because it kind of shows you, be careful what you ask your game companies to give you, because you may not want it in the long run. I mean, look at the Wii. You guys wanted that, and look what happened. But that's another story for another video. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I will catch you beautiful people tomorrow.